Ever wonder how you could rewire your brain for success? You probably heard it before from like other success people online. You have to rewire your brain, you have to rewire your belief systems. You don't actually understand the practical implementation, how to do it. Well, in this video, we'll be going over the psychological and physiological component to rewiring your brain from more so a neuroscience level. So this way you don't actually just try to implement some quick trick or quick tactic. You actually rewire your brain and see lasting results. And then you could ultimately go out and achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. If you're wondering why you should listen to me, I'm David. I run a six-figure marketing company while in college, while also building the physique I want. I think I have a pretty respectable appearance as well. And I bought a pretty cool car fairly recently as well. So I've ultimately achieved a lot of the things I want in life, like traveling around, the car, the looks, the appearance, the physique, the business, while still in college and while still gaining a grasp and understanding of rewiring your brain from a neurological level. Now, this is not going to be some fucking skibbity toilet, 6, 7, whatever brain rot bullshit that you've probably been consuming here for the last 2 hours. This is going to be practical implementation, how you could rewire your brain. So if you can invest like 10 minutes of just advice and value into your future, then just click off the damn video. I don't want to waste your time. Don't waste your own fucking time. This isn't some skibbity toilet, whatever Rizzler, I don't even know, bullshit that you're probably really just consuming your time with. First, when it comes to rewiring your brain, we have to understand what the brain is made of. The brain is made of billions of neurons. And the way you could think of these is just pathways. And these are the pathways that information travels down, and these are the things that send information throughout your nervous system, and they send information throughout your minds. So neurons are the fundamental component for how information is traveling through your nervous system. And ultimately, that makes up your reality, whether good or bad. Neurons are literally in control of how we more so feel, act, the motivation to exercise. They determine a lot of very important aspects of life. So we first have to understand neurons, what they are. To keep it simple, it's just how information's traveling, through the nervous system. Now, we also want to understand as well right now, and you want to understand as the viewer, what this information traveling through the nervous system looks like. So as you can see here, we have neuron A, and then we have neuron B. Now, say you get a signal of maybe dopamine, or you're scrolling, or you have like an emotion come up with something. The signal starts here at the top of the neuron, and we call this the cell body. And then it travels down this middle piece here called the axon. You don't need to know the specifics, I'm just going into it. And then it gets released from here. This is what we call the terminal. And then it gets released into this middle area here, which I'm drawing in. This middle area is called the synapse. And then in the synapse, the signal gets brought down to the next neuron, and then this process repeats and repeats over and over again. So this could either be for things in our life that we like, or this could be for things that are not so good as well. So if you have that signal of motivation and feeling positive, and you're ready to crush the day, and you're ready to crush a workout, or you're ready to do some deep work or some studying, that's exactly how this process occurs, from neuron A to neuron B. That's exactly how those emotions are getting transmuted throughout your body. Neuron A to neuron B. Neuroplasticity now. All right. Now, you understand neurons just a little bit, just enough to begin to start rewiring. There's also another concept here that we have to understand, and you've probably heard of it before from guys like, what's that guy's name? Huberman, I think. You've probably heard of it before. Neuroplasticity. I don't even think I spelled it correctly. But neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to rewire through experiences, through actions, through all that stuff. Literally, anytime we're taking on a new task, or anytime we're learning something new, anytime we're embarking on a new experience, plasticity is occurring. And what plasticity is in the simplest form is these neurons firing and that connection starting to build. So a new connection is forming, a new connection starting to build. So say, for example, I am, a psych major, but I transferred to bio major, or say, for example, I'm starting a new business and I'm learning how to build a drop shipping store. When I'm building that Shopify store, I'm gonna have neuroplasticity occurring. There's gonna be new, just overall firing of neurons, and then that connection is going to start to get built here. Now, the beautiful thing about neuroplasticity with neurons and just you from a neurological and physiological level is you could interrupt this process, but also repetition strengthens these pathways. So repetition over time, as you continuously wire in a certain programming into yourself or into your mind or into your brain, you can start to strengthen the pathways A to B that give you positive benefits in life. So it's literally like building muscle. It takes consistency, it takes a lot of time and inputs, but over time, these pathways will fire automatically on their own, and then you won't have to interrupt the cycle consciously as much, which we'll get into kind of like you interrupting the cycle more a little bit later in the video. But this ultimately shapes your reality, information transferring from one neuron to the next, and then plasticity occurring, whether it was for you or against you. You are most likely unconscious of the process. So now we're becoming conscious so we can start to interrupt it. And like I said, with limiting beliefs, you were not born with limiting beliefs. It was just pathways, thoughts, feelings, emotions that you had continuously firing over time. Neuroplasticity occurred, and then you strengthen those pathways in your brain. Eventually, they're going to fire on autopilot without you even thinking about it. So now your reality becomes the firing of these neurons. So for me, I had no other option but to build a respectable physique, look respectable as you can see, build a six-figure company while maintaining a 3.5 GPA. I had no other option for that. I rewired that into my brain. I thought the thoughts and feelings and affirmations associated with that, and eventually, long enough time, that became instilled in myself, and that allowed me to take the actions to build the life that I have now. And we're going to touch more on the practical later in this video, but I wanted to touch on that component now there, really what that cycle looks like with plasticity. We also have to understand the middle here, which is between neuron A and neuron B. Like I said earlier, this is the synapse. The synapse is that information being brought to that next neuron. And you've probably heard of what's released here in the synapse. They're called neurotransmitters. And the most common known transmitter, like the most common ones that we know of, are dopamine and also serotonin. So they're chemical messengers, and these can also be used in your favor or not in your favor. And there's one neurotransmitter which is super important to understand, and you probably can't see that on the board, so I'll put it in big letters. But it's called glutamate, and if anything, I could have the editor pop it up on screen. But glutamate is the most excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain. And what I mean by excitatory is it increases neuronal meaning these neurons firing between each other, neuronal activity, meaning it'll increase the activity of a signal in the brain firing. So once you have some success in something, or once you're starting to rewire new habits, there's going to be an increase in this excitatory neurotransmitter, which is what we call glutamate. And it's kind of like momentum being built there. All you have to do when you're getting more of that glutamate is just keep your foot on the pedal as well. So the beautiful thing about neuroplasticity and firing the programming in your brain that you want is then you also get an increase of this excitatory neurotransmitter released into the synapse here, which is glutamate. And that's going to increase the activity, and that's how you get this system going on autopilot. And by the way, we'll go into the autopilot thing at the end, don't worry. But this is going to help you drive action. This is going to help you with learning. This is going to help you with habit formation. That's why people that go to the gym have no issues with overtime. That's why guys who work 8, 10, 12-hour days have no issue with it, because they started building this neuronal programming in the beginning. They had the they had the signals released into the synapse from A to B, positive signals in their favor. Glutamine, the excitatory neurotransmitter, over time became accustomed to that. It released in abundance, and then eventually they have these signals firing on autopilot. Because the more you strengthen these pathways, the more you use these pathways, the stronger they're going to get. And when you strengthen a pathway and when you work on strengthening it, when it goes in that pathway from weak to stronger, we call that long-term potentiation. So in psychology, the acronym for that is LTP. I know it's blurry, so bear with me. But that's called LTP, which is long-term potentiation. And long-term potentiation is just this process, but it's occurring over time. So you have a thought of wanting to start a business, you want to start a marketing agency, you want to start a drop shipping store, you want to start doing TikTok, you want to start doing content, you want to start doing social media. Long-term potentiation is the pathways getting stronger and stronger over time. Now, long-term potentiation also states that this process can take a while. It can take months. Think of, for example, some of the beliefs that you've had before, like a limiting belief you have. Think of any negative limiting belief that you have in your life. Maybe it's around money, maybe it's around finances, maybe it's around yourself, your image, your ego, your success, whatever that might be. Think of that limiting belief. When it first came up, it wasn't as strong as it is now. That's because LTP occurred, long-term potentiation occurred. This signal started in the cell body, went down the neuron, it was fired into the synapse. This neurotransmitter was then released to this next neuron, and then eventually neuroplasticity occurred. So the neurons kept firing, the pathways got stronger, and eventually, once a pathway is extremely strong, your body, your biology, your psychology, your mind, your physiology is going to filter out any other proof of anything that's not true. And in psychology, what we call that is confirmation bias. In the simplest form, confirmation bias, you're going to filter out for information that does not align with the reality and the perceived notions that you have about reality in your mind. So, if I believe that college is the only way, and I have strong conviction in that belief system, then it doesn't matter if another opportunity presents itself of starting a company or working in sales or by starting some other opportunity. It doesn't matter because on a physiological, psychological level, you're firing signals in your brain which are contrary to that new information in your life that comes up. So it doesn't matter that how good of an opportunity or how different that sensory stimulus and that sensory information is, you're going to continue to fire those signals that don't align with the reality you want. With that being said, as well, there's also an inhibitory neurotransmitter called GABA. I'm not going to dive too much into GABA. You may have actually heard of GABA before. It's a common anxiety and sleep supplement. But basically, GABA is kind of like the brake pedal, so it's inhibitory with these neurotransmitter signals. A good way to actually keep GABA balanced in the brain is by not brain rotting or doing any stupid bullshit. So I'm not going to dive too much into GABA now because it's not really the main focus of the video. The main focus is neurons, plasticity, and then how you could actually rewire your brain. But just keep that in mind to keep a balanced level of the neurotransmitter GABA, that inhibitory signal in the brain and just in general signaling throughout your nervous system. Just don't fucking be an idiot. Don't brain rot. Keep that signal balanced there. Next, we jump into what is called the reticular. I'm still filming. I look good as fuck. We're still filming. We jump into what's called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is your brain's filter. It's located in the brain stem. And this is where this whole entire thing ties together into your reality. So we're giving not just the smaller micro level moving closer. We're not just giving you the level from the neurons. We're giving you how this all ties together. So stay on the video. That's what we're diving into. Holy shit, I'm cooking here. The RAS, so it's called reticular activating system, but we're going to abbreviate it. The RAS, it's also known as the RAS, is the brain's filter. And like I said, it's pretty much filtering out for that information, whether you like it or not, consciously or unconsciously, and it decides what you're seeing, what you're noticing. So, for example, if you've ever maybe thought about buying a car, or you thought about, I don't know, doing something new in your life. But the car example is the one that you could probably relate to. So say we have here the car, as you can see, and let's say this car is a BMW, and it's a 330i. So it's a BMW 330i. I don't know too much about cars. You're thinking about buying it. Subconsciously, you'll probably notice whenever you thought about buying the car, whenever you've asked people about the car, whenever you've talked to people about the potential decision that you're about to make, you're seeing more of that car on the road. You're seeing more of that car on the road. So there might be a bunch of other cars, there might be more of other cars, but you're consciously starting to notice how many more BMW 330i's you're running into. So the same exact thing happens with the things we want, the goals that we long and sought after, but the difference with most people with their RAS is they've been programmed for fear, they've been programmed for anxiety, for worry, and they've been programmed in a way that is not conducive to the goals that they have in mind. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what this cycle looks like. So, you have a thought. So, right here, we have a thought. And the thought comes in, I'm fucking stupid, or I'm not smart, or maybe a stimulus. You have a stimulus which causes this thought. Now, here's a good example I can make. We have a bad test grade. So you just got an exam back, you studied super hard for it, you got a 55 on the exam. That triggers a thought. Oh shit, I'm not smart. Oh shit, I'm not meant for this career path. I'm not meant for this thing. I'm not meant for that thing. Oh my gosh, how did this happen? It's not meant to be, blah, 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 blah. I'm this, I'm that. A bunch of thoughts come to mind. After these thoughts come in, you then have an emotion. So with this emotion, you could maybe have some feelings of anxiety with it. You could have self-doubt. You could have anxiousness. And you could also just have a bunch of self-loathing, whatever that might be. Because most people don't interrupt the cycle in these first two stages following the stimulus, it turns into a belief. I hope that's neat enough. It turns into a belief. And then from that turning into a belief, the reticular activating system, the brain's filtering system, like I spoke to you about, I like drawing it that way, but we'll come down here. It's then sent through the RAS, and then from this getting sent to the reticular activating system, you will then subconsciously and unconsciously, you will start to look for confirmation of this. So you will subconsciously start to look for confirmation of this, and eventually, over time, this confirmation becomes conviction. So people who started out and people who have a brokey mindset or a limiting mindset didn't start out that way. They just had a strong enough stimulus, and a stimulus is anything that invokes a response or a reaction, by the way. That's what a stimulus is. They just had a strong enough stimulus which gave them certain thoughts and emotions, and they did not interrupt the cycle in this stage here. So they did not interrupt the cycle after they had the thoughts and emotions. Now, I'm not saying to suppress your emotions. I'm not saying that. If you're feeling shitty and you're feeling something and something's going on in your life, allow yourself to express and feel that emotion. Do not suppress the emotion. But most people do not interrupt the cycle here. So instead of that person then thinking they're an idiot for the rest of their life because they got one bad exam grade, what they could do is they could begin to rationally construct thoughts that are actually beneficial for the identity that they want to form. So you could interrupt this cycle at the belief stage, and then you could take a step back. And you're in the heat of that moment. You could take a deep breath. You could take a deep breath. You could take a step back. And you're like, you know what? Like, I'm doing pretty good this year. I got a 3.3 GPA. The last test I got an 85. The test before that I got a 90. You know, oh, I studied hard. Maybe you know, just something happened. That's it. And then you interrupt that cycle, and you could interrupt it using rationality, because most of the time when you have the emotion and it's associated with a thought and the emotion is strong and so is the stimulus, most people just start to be irrational. But you could actually interrupt the cycle at the belief stage with rationale. Say, for example, you're on a sales call and you don't close the client. Oh, shoot, I suck at sales. Oh, shoot this. Oh, shoot that. It's not meant to be. I'm not meant to do this business. Oh, wait. You took 10 calls this month and you've closed 2 so far. That means you have a 20% close. You missed just 1. It's not that big of a deal. While there are clients that won't sign with you, there are a bunch of more clients who are going to sign with you. So that's how you interrupt the cycle. Most people never interrupt it at the belief stage, so it gets sent to the RAS in the brainstem, like I said, your brain's filter, and then people look for confirmation because it's sent to the RAS. Think of the BMW, the 330i example. From there, it becomes conviction, and this cycle repeats over and over again in their life. Don't mind me, I'm looking at my notes. I did a lot of preparation for this video. Now, some mindset shifts, practical implementation that you can have to interrupt this cycle. So, first thing is keeping promises to yourself. Sounds so basic, but do the things that you set out to do. Keep your task list, keep those promises to yourself, and then also set small minor goals at the beginning. What a lot of people will do is they'll be like, yo, they'll skip studying for like a week. And then they're like, bro, I'm going to catch up. I'm going to study for like 6 hours tomorrow. And then they don't end up even studying at all because the paralysis by analysis is so much they have to do. A good way to interrupt this cycle and keep those promises to yourself and start to reinforce to your RAS what you actually want is by setting small goals. That's why people genuinely say make your bed. So for example, say you planned on studying for 3 hours. You have a big exam coming up. Instead of just going to study for 3 hours, I'm not bullshitting you, study for just 10 minutes. Just focus on hitting the 10 minutes. And then from there, you'll probably actually be able to do longer. Now, even if you don't go to 3 hours, say you're studying for 10 and you go pretty strongly for about 30, 40 minutes. Reinforce that in your brain. After that study session, reinforce that in your brain. Holy shit, this is the most I've studied all week. And then you're like, hey, let's go. I could do that again tomorrow. If I did this today, I could do another 30 minutes tomorrow. That's a new stimulus. That creates new thoughts. That creates new emotions. Over time, you keep those promises to yourself in that micro action, micro goal way. You now reinforce new beliefs. The RAS gets filtered with new information. You look for new confirmation, and then you have new convictions set out. So over time, that's an example of how you can rewire this into your brain. Another thing as well is stop overstimulating yourself with bullshit. Stop brain rotting. Stop scrolling on social media. Because on social, like I haven't scrolled in 6 months, but when I would scroll, I would see like a body cam video of police brutality, and then I would see someone's dog. It's such a cute dog. And then I would see a guy in a Lamborghini at 17 years old. Like you're firing these emotional, you're firing so many neurotransmitters at once, which explains why sometimes like you'll scroll and then even you'll get 8-9 hours of sleep. And then you just feel fucking drained the next day because you're just firing and synapsing these neural pathways in your brain on non-stop. You're not giving your mind time to breathe. So you want to give your mind space to breathe, and you want to start to interrupt the reticular activating system cycle over time. And then that ties into plasticity, that ties into the neurons firing, but this is ultimately the bigger picture. It's the reticular activating system, and it's the sensory stimulus giving you a thought, an emotion, and a belief. It's confirmed, and then it becomes a conviction. You want to interrupt that cycle there. So, for example, say you're starting a new business, a social media marketing agency. We'll do another example. Say you have to do, cold calls to get clients, or you have to film paid ads, and you have to film 10 ads, and you're scared of being on camera, and being on film, it emotionally drains you, and you don't want to film 10 videos, and you're tired, and all this and that. Instead of going to film 1, book that office space, instead of going to film 10, Go to the office space and just plan on filming one. Film one. Get your partner, get into a flow state, film one. Have a cup of coffee with you. Film one. And then afterwards, holy shit, that video came out good. I had a pretty good flow state. Reinforce that to yourself. Even if you took 30 retries on that video, reinforce that in your mind. Be a little delusional. You'll get thoughts, you'll get emotions, you'll get a little hype, beliefs, RAS, confirmation, conviction. That'll happen over time there. Now, one more mindset shift that I've adopted, which has really, really helped me out with this, is the mindset of now I do what I want. Like I was making, and I still am making, I built a 6-figure business and I was still massively insecure. And that's because I didn't unwire certain programming in my brain. So the mindset of now I do what I want, it gives you the freedom to really do this rewiring as well, and it becomes super unconscious, subconscious over time, so you just start doing it automatically. What I mean by the mindset of now I do what I want, it does not mean acting impulsively. If you want to punch someone in the face, don't actually do that. It doesn't mean acting impulsively or acting like an idiot. It means intentional action based on your goals, and it means stop letting old wiring take over you. So, for example, when it comes to the now I do what I want mindset, you may want to do a certain thing, or you may want to start participating more in class, or you may want to start just doing something in general, or speaking up, right? Here's a good example which helped me, speaking up in class. You want to speak up, but you're scared that other people think you're an idiot, other people make fun of you, whatever. Just do what you want. Just do what you want. Who cares? They don't determine. Do what you want. Genuinely do what you want. Every time you want to do something, but some kind of resistance manifests and gets in the way of you doing that thing, do it anyway. And then the reason behind why is it's going to be, I do what I want. Now, this is another way where you could start to fire the RAS system in your favor, and then you could also fire neuroplasticity and neural programming in your favor as well. Now I do what I want. Connect it to literally anything. Now, don't be an idiot, don't be stupid, and don't be impulsive, but do what you want and have it be in favor of every beneficial action that's going to carry you towards your goals. So, for example, scrolling on social media, oh, I want to take a break, you keep scrolling. But then remember, I do what I want. Put your phone down. Get off the video game. Stop eating the bullshit. Whatever. You're hesitating on going to the gym. Oh wait, I do what I want. Over time, that's also a way of rewiring and firing the programming. And yeah, that's it. And then those excitatory neurotransmitters, like we spoke about earlier in the synapse, will continue to fire. So anyways, I know this was a long video. I did not expect us to run 30 minutes. But if you found some value, definitely leave a like. There's more. My phone cut out, but I'm doing the outro anyway. If you enjoyed this and you want more psychology, mindset, motivation content, want more of that content, then fucking stay tuned. I'm back for good this time. You're probably wondering, well, how do you have 20K subscribers and no videos? It's because I blew up about 3 years ago, but I'm actually back this time. I've actually experienced the world. I've built a lot of the things I've wanted, and I'm not just mindlessly speaking, I'm also graduating this spring with a psychology degree. So I have a little bit of credibility. I've only built a 6-figure business, only bought a Mercedes-Benz, and have only built a handsome face and a good physique at 22. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I've done a few things, so I'm back for good this time. That's why I have so many subscribers. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give me some feedback. I want constructive criticism here. And when my camera went out, I literally started filtering this RAS system. I gave myself a stimulus. The stimulus was, holy shit, I got into such a good flow state in that video. Holy shit, I have so much knowledge I didn't even realize. Holy shit, I'm really good at filming YouTube videos. All those fired. I got hype, I got excited. You see it in me now. I'm starting to fire this in my face. All right, so my shit keeps cutting out, but I'm gonna just finish it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, that is it.